So I'm going to talk, again, platforms for success. We're going to talk about kinetic fulfillment. And really the goal of kinetic fulfillment is to be able to complete a request in a very repeatable, manageable way, making the fulfiller's job, somebody who does tasks, I want to make their job easier, better, and have them be able to get it done and go to lunch. So a little bit about me, product visionary. I have many titles at the company, and we kind of talk about our favorite Minnesota activity. And so I like to go out to eat with my friends and family, and that's true. Or really, I'm a fan of outdoor hockey. So I play hockey a couple times a week, and in the winter we do outdoor tournaments and that. And this is my team from the national championships this year, and we did not win. So. But anyways, outdoor hockey is a big thing in Minnesota. Hundreds and hundreds of teams will compete in a tournament over a weekend. Do you guys hear about that at the national level? Do you ever hear about outdoor hockey tournaments in Minnesota? All right, it's fun stuff. Stop by and I'll show you the weather report from one of my games. It's 24 below, so you sweat anyways. So a little overview of what I'm going to talk about. We're going to, we'll call it discuss the problem of fulfillment, talk about there must be a better way. I'll show you how we're doing it. We're going to break it down. Then I'll have you guys use it, and we'll take some questions. So what is fulfillment? So I went to Wikipedia, which here's a little factoid. I actually defined something on Wikipedia. The crummer. Do you guys know what the crummer is? Well, you can look it up on Wikipedia, but the idea is when you go to a restaurant, a fancy restaurant, you have crumbs all over your table, they kind of pick up the crumbs, the crummer. I defined that on Wikipedia, and I made it up. It's a pretty decent definition, but the really kind of funny thing is it's been edited like 100 times since. So fulfillment has probably had the same edits, but basically fulfillment, I really like these definitions. Satisfaction or happiness as a result of fulfilling one's abilities or character, the achievement of something desired, promised, or predicted, but a little bit more information, and I think this is more relevant to us, the performance of a task, duty, or role required, pledged, or expected. So getting tasks done is what fulfillment is all about. So from a consumer perspective, it's very common people go to Amazon, make a request, and it shows up at their house and they receive it. And that process in between is the fulfillment process. And Amazon has it down very well, and their company has done great things as a result. And they have many confusing back ends, many partners, etc. But they have a strategy for taking a request and getting it to your door. And what's nice is they're giving you status along the way. So although it is a black box, you are getting some information along the way when relevant. And that's what people are used to, and it's working very well for them. The corporate story is a little different. Certainly you might have a request front end that looks very nice, but the fulfillment world tends to be a bit of a mess. It looks good in front, but it's a mess. And the status, well, that can be all over the place. Sometimes we're sharing too much information, not enough, but it's just not what the consumers systems are providing. And so why is that? Well, fulfillments are where the work gets done in the corporate world, but it's hard. They're confusing back ends, they're hard to use back ends, they're oftentimes too generic, translating to lack of automation. And it's a system that kind of is behind the scenes and nobody's really, we'll say, taking pride and ownership of that. And it's just the Wild West, so to speak. When it gets to too confusing, oftentimes in the IT space, we're going to discuss at great length to no real value, in my opinion, whether something is an incident or a change, is it a problem, well, oftentimes in our world it's requests, so it doesn't fit in any of those, so we start repurposing some of these buckets for things that they weren't intended for, and it has unintended consequence. And then also it's too hard. I happen to pick on the Remedy system here, but the reality is it's many of these systems have way too many tabs, way too many fields. It's training routinely, upgrades that are painful, retraining, etc. These back-end fulfillment systems are designed for a heads-down user who really is trained, and this is what they do all day long. But the world of fulfillment is for much more than that. Alternatively, you can have systems that are just too generic. It's just a generic, put in the person's name, what did you do? You can write a paragraph, you can write a short sentence. It just ends up being plain text, and that's not something that can be used in any mass way in terms of reporting or automation, etc. So those are some of the reasons why it's painful. And that genericness does not allow for automation. So as soon as you have a human get involved in a fulfillment, any step after that is difficult to automate if you're going to use any of the information that the human collected. So frankly, up front, you might have a good looking catalog, the request is easy, but behind, the delivery is hard. Reminds me of something. It's a mullet. So looks good in front, mess in the back. And this is a Minnesotan, that's why I picked him. So again, it's good in the front, but not so good in the back. And that's kind of the fulfillment system in general for most systems. So there's got to be a better way, and that's how I think we always think of kinetic data is. We take these things that are routine, people are just doing, and maybe not even questioning, and we ask, is there a better way? If I was doing that job, would I want to do that day in and day out? If I wouldn't, I just kind of have to naturally fix it and address it. So that's what we're doing here. So what would be a better way? Well, certainly we want it to be simple, be able to get it done quickly. We need it to be intuitive so that when we make these forms processes, we can just roll them out. We don't have to do the retraining. And it needs to be fast. Get in, do it, and go to lunch, and have that tool actually be helpful to us. So that brings up kinetic fulfillment. So if we take a look here, we have the request on the left. That might be a good looking form, simple, complicated, whatever. We make that request, and then the person is gone, they do their thing, and behind the scenes, somebody is going to fulfill it, and they're going to fulfill it in a tool that's convenient to them. I have a lot of my screenshots are showing the kinetic fulfillment cap in a mobile, but it also works on the web too. So we want it to be simple, intuitive, and fast in the front. We've been doing that for years, but we want that to be the case in the front end and the back end for fulfillment. So what is kinetic fulfillment? Kinetic fulfillment, I kind of mentioned earlier, kinetic request is starting to become the system of record for a lot of companies and a lot of processes. Well, kinetic fulfillment is kind of the partnering back end to the kinetic request front end. So in many cases, people are making requests and they go into incidents and changes and they are fulfilling them in there. But again, a lot of things don't fit into that space. And so kinetic fulfillment can be that area where those requests go to get resolved. And so we're going to have simple forms, intuitive interface, powerful workflow, and really it's automation friendly using kinetic fulfillment. So simple forms. So when somebody's doing a task, we're going to ask questions that are relevant for the fulfillment. So we're not going to give them 11 tabs and 104 questions and they kind of have to navigate through to figure out what's relevant for them. In kinetic fulfillment, when they are assigned a task, it's going to ask the questions that are specific to the task that they're doing, and it's going to have all the typical kinetic capabilities. So pull down menus, validations, hiding, showing, etc., to get just the data that we need. So we're going to ask as few of questions, quite frankly, as needed in order to fulfill. And it's going to be an intuitive interface. So this is, again, going back to our code row and bringing them into our company. This is using experiences that they've had over the years and making software that goes out to consumers, that just goes onto the app stores or Google Play, and they don't ever get to train any of their people. It's download that stuff and use it. And so that's what we're really bringing into this, so be able to just interact with it like it's a piece of software that you would typically buy from a consumer scenario. And again, we're doing both mobile interfaces and then web interfaces. And then in terms of workflow, so this is a real one from our customer, and I think they end up creating some Microsoft projects based on the data collected here. But somebody makes a request for a new project, it'll go to a fulfiller. That fulfiller will okay that yes, it's all right to do this project and maybe give it a budget and ask or answer 10 or so questions on the fulfillment. And then once this is saved, it goes and creates a Microsoft project in Office 365. And you can chain these together, so you create Office 365, that's fine. You actually talk to the finance application and maybe decrement a cost code. You talk to all kinds of different systems and chain these smaller tasks together to create a big solution for your request and automate as much as possible. And these particular company recently won a very large award to manage all of the solar power for Silicon Valley, largest Apple company. So anyways, massive project. Tons and tons of processes are getting kicked off, projects, et cetera, and distributed across the country for this group. So they do thousands of these. And then again, the fulfillment system is automation friendly. So when we gather that data with the guided data inputs, we're going to be able to generate all the normal Kinetic workflow, so alerts, routing, updating other systems, whether it be an incident or CMDB records, et cetera. All that can just generate through as a result. And then in typical Kinetic fashion, so if you've built a Kinetic form that's generally designed to go onto your portal, it's the exact same builder. It's just a bit of templating, so to speak. So you build up a Kinetic work order template, and then you clone that and add your questions to that. And that template has built-in attributes, built-in processes for creating and closing, and 90% of the work is done for you. So you take a clone, you add the questions that are relevant for you, and save it in the system, and it's testable, it's documentable, et cetera, and it's just that one new form. And so makes it a lot easier to build out specific processes. So how does it work? I've taken some screenshots here of the KEG catalog, and I'll just kind of walk you through it. So on the left-hand side there, we've got the catalog itself. Have people connected with their mobile at all? So go ahead, click on your mobile device, go to the catalog, and in there you'll find a scavenger hunt called Make a Button. It might be turned on directly after this, but anyways, go to Make a Button, you select what kind of button you would like. Then you submit that. Behind the scenes, it's sending a task over to the fulfillment system, and it's going to create a fulfillment record, and it's going to be assigned to a person called fulfillment@kineticdata.com. So after this session, you can walk over to our poster story for fulfillment, and you can be a fulfiller. So you can actually log into the fulfillment, search for your fulfillment, do your fulfillment, so you get to go and make a button. So if you guys have seen these buttons, you get to make your own button, and then at the end, complete the fulfillment of that button, and you'll win 5 points or whatever. But I would like everybody to come in and actually do the fulfillment, so you can touch the software, interact with it, et cetera. So again, you make a request, it's going to go through the task engine. It will alert the fulfiller. The fulfiller will go into their app on their mobile device, see the request to fulfill, click on it, they'll see the details of the request, and then they can, which is overview, like what's the priority, what's the cost, these types of things. And then they'll click on Work It, and you resolve it. So it's about a 1 minute or less interaction, and that's quite frankly the goal of fulfillment, is to be able to get in, get it done, and go to lunch. So, live demo. I'd like to do that at the booth. So anybody who wants to play with it, stop by the booth or the poster story, and we'll do that. So to kind of recap, the benefits of kinetic fulfillment is the delivery back end for kinetic request, simple forms gather the right info the first time, an intuitive interface, consumer-like experience, powerful workflow, and automation friendly. So even though you have a very large task process, people can participate in different areas. The system is gathering the right data, knowing what fields hold what values, and automation can continue afterwards. So that's the high level of it all. And again, try it out, gain some points, maybe some fame, depending on how you do. And that's it. So get in, get it done, go to lunch. That's kinetic fulfillment. Thanks.